Committee of the whole. Start with roll call. I'm looking around, I see everybody here, all present. I have a suggested motion that the agenda be adopted as amended. I think we have two amendments, one a presentation
Delegation.
and delegation. And I think there's an calendar meeting.
No, so that's communication.
That's the other one, that's the next one. So anyway, we're amended for that, so I have anybody wanna move that? Marina and Jeannie? All in favor? And that's carried, thank you. Approval of the minutes, the committee of the whole meeting minutes of January 13, 2025 be approved as circulated. Moved by Jeannie, seconded by Marina, all in favor? And that's carried, thank you. We do have a presentation. Mr. Harrison?
Thank you. Shall I go here?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Turn the mic on too.
There isn't a there, see, I have to give them one. I can yell.
No. You can carry on speaker, you have them.
The meeting's being recorded, so we need to use the mic.
I think this is okay.
Do the best we can there.
Sorry, thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak with you. I understand that the committee of the whole is recommending to council to accept the proposal, excuse me, to accept the proposal of Enbridge Gas for the extension of services to Lanark Village. I'm here to ask you two things. The first is to ask the Lanark Highlands not approve the decision at this time. And then secondly, the Lanark Highlands host a public meeting to ensure other information and perspectives are aired besides those in Enbridge Gas. Next slide, please, or second slide. The United Nations states that rising temperatures are fueling environmental degradation, natural disasters, weather extremes, food and water insecurity, and economic disruption. The fires in California this month and Jasper last summer are ample evidence that the impacts of climate change are here and they're here now. 2024 was the single most expensive year on record in terms of insurance payouts in Canada, following a swath of devastating weather-related disasters. Insurers are warning that home insurance rates in 2025 are likely to increase significantly. The UN also states that it is not too late to stem the tide. Fundamental transformations in all aspects of society are required. How we grow food, how we use land, how we transport goods, and how we power our economies. And I think most particularly tonight, how we power our economies. Readily available technological solutions already exist for more than 70% of today's emissions. In many places, renewable energy is now the cheapest energy source. And next slide, please. A number of organizations have filed a complaint to the Competition Bureau over what they say is Enbridge Gas's deceptive marketing, encouraging homeowners to connect to its natural gas systems. Enbridge, and there's a quote, Enbridge's dishonest marketing is duping people into signing up for its gas service, falsely claiming it's cheaper than heating with electricity, which is not true. And that's from Keith Brooks, Program Director for Environmental Defense. And again, heat pumps have come a long way in recent years, and they are now the most affordable way to heat a home and are far superior from an environmental perspective. Now, they can, particularly with natural gas is 70 to 90% methane, and methane is among the most potent greenhouse gases, with 80 times the heat trapping potential of carbon dioxide. Next slide. The Ontario Energy Board stated that the use of natural gas in the future is a bad economic deal for consumers. It also raised the issue of stranded assets. Consumers in Lanark will be required to sign a 40-year contract to pay for any stranded assets. So scenario, someone in Lanark Village signs up with Enbridge in 2026. With the sharp and inevitable increase in cost of all fossil fuels, the homeowner realizes that by 2030 that she wants to switch to a heat pump, but is locked in with Enbridge until 2030. Next slide, please. Besides there are grants and loans available from the provincial and federal government for home energy retrofits, or from improved insulation to cold climate heat pumps. Many of these are tailored to low-income households. In addition, Climate Network Lanark has been very pleased to bring its neighborhood concierge program to Lanark Village and Lanark Highlands to help people learn how to cut their energy bills, make their homes more comfortable, and take advantage of the numerous funding, financing, and technical programs. CNL helped a dozen homeowners last year gain the confidence to take these actions and more, including improving insulation and air sealing and installing heat pumps for heating and cooling. And then the last slide, please. Again, my request that, first of all, Lanark Highlands not approve the decision at this time. And then secondly, I think holding a public meeting where other views and perspectives, besides those of Enbridge Gas, could be aired publicly would be an important next step. Again, thank you for your time.
Thank you for that. Does anybody on council have any questions? Brief?
I'm not sure if you're aware, Gord, there's 6 dryers between here and Perth. Heat pumps won't dry corn. They probably run through a minimum of $100,000 a year of drying corn. I was told I can get it at my place too. I paid $1.04 this morning for propane. Before the carbon tax for the HST. And it's pretty much guaranteed anywhere you've heard natural gas is not the cost. These guys have been waiting. You take the big elevator out there, he's got a 2,000-gallon tank. It will not last a day. I filled my 1,000-gallon tank that was from 10% to they went over to 85, $3,500. I can go through that in 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's an issue that's not been solved. I mean, I know there's being research being done into that, but that's certainly that is something that where natural gas is a good option. But I mean, it's maybe not wise then to lock residents into that for the next 4 years, when the cost of those people will keep going up for households.
Any other questions? Steve?
Thank you for the presentation. I don't think it's a gun point, contract that they have to do. I believe there is an option for the contract to come. But it would be up to the individual owner, if I'm not mistaken, to assess whether he wants to put himself in that risk or not.
Yeah.
And your point is well taken, and maybe, public meeting, if they didn't have orders, some people would be under the assumption that they would have to take it, which is not true. And certainly the individual person would have whether it's in his best interest or not to sign up for that.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that forward.
Yeah, yeah, I think just to make sure that, like any of us, when we make any kind of major purchase, we're really aware of all the kind of pros and cons and ins and outs and long-term implications, yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you for sharing your views.
Right, thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is communications. Communications. I see 7, do we have, Jeannie? speak one?
That's pretty sure.
You would call them
7.7?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll let Marina speak to it. She's probably
Okay,
prepared.
go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I haven't prepared anything, but I was just going to say, that I was 100% in support of this. It's come the last couple of years. I've attended, as a spectator. It's very well received by the community and our neighboring, fire departments. I just wondered about I was away last year out of the country, so I wasn't at last year's, but I was confused about the commotion with the rental of a truck. I didn't realize that we had a bylaw for a food truck. So I just wondered if that could be looked into a little bit further, to avoid any bubble this year, but I was absolutely in support of this request.
Basically, I was gonna say the same thing. My concern or question was, is that a permitted, could we have a food truck on premises? It's not violating anything. As a, okay, I just, as long as that's kosher, I support, I think it's a good thing.
I just said, we will look into this, and I know that, Chief Rockwell is also kind of aware of what happened last year and how we can kind of avoid any of those issues this year. So I believe staff is already on it, but I don't have the exact details.
Agreed.
I think last year, the price that we charged was paid for the ring attendance, that was all, and then ice time was free. I know I got stuff going at the driveway, we passed it last time, so.
Oh.
Yeah, Scott got it.
Yeah.
Jane?
Motion.
Yeah, you asked.
Sure, Jeannie motion?
Yeah.
And so I would propose that, council supports, the Clyde Firefighters Association request for fee reduction in the way of, cost recovery for staff, and that ice time be donated.
Readers for every.
Yes.
I think if we're gonna do that, we take that item out of the communications and put it as a standalone.
You can say where it is.
That's a good full question on it.
Yeah, we've sort of pulled it out, discuss it, and then we vote on it if we want to.
Should come from this discussion on the floor.
Communications.
We have, done last week, or sort of last month's agenda, similar situation.
And I'm just referring back to the senior problem.
Okay, I think we're good. Jane?
I'll second.
It will, of course, come forward for council authorizations on the 11th of February.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a motion moved and seconded. Councilor Close is voting for it. Okay. And anyone else want to vote for it? All in favor? Okay, and that's carried. Good stuff. Okay, Forbes, can you hear me?
Sorry.
I am with you, Chair. I'm with you, Deputy Mayor.
I think I did something wrong, Forbes. Hang on. I have a motion that communications dated January 28th, 2025 be received as information moved by Councilor Kelso, seconded by Councilor Summers, all in favor? And that's carried. Barely. Okay, so now we're on to you, Forbes. Thank you for your patience. Report on the Lanark Highlands official plan, Schedule C, administrative correction.
Yes, Chair, we have recognized an error in the official plan. There's an incorrect reference to a Schedule B throughout the environmental section of the plan, and it should be Schedule C. We wanted to bring this matter to council's attention and let you know that we're going to make an administrative change to the document so that it's correct. But we will have to technically do the formal update at some point in time in the future when we do a housekeeping amendment. But we wanted to let you know that we've picked up this error and how we intend to correct it.
Okay, thank you for that. Any comments from the council? Seeing none, we have a suggested motion along the lines of what Forbes was just saying. The council passed the necessary resolution to clarify that section 5.0 of the official plan should reference Schedule C instead of Schedule B, and that the clerk be authorized to make administrative changes to the text of the official plan to correctly reference Schedule C in section 5.0 of the official plan, and further that these changes be formally captured in a future official plan update / housekeeping exercise. That is moved by Councillor Kelso, seconded by Councillor Close, all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, Forbes. On to the next one, deferral delegations and public meetings scheduling for proposed pit application.
So, where the Highland Line pit application by Kavanaugh is being reintroduced. They're doing a new submission. And I've been working with the Lanark County planners to coordinate the review of that submission and schedule public meetings following peer review of the technical documents. We wanted to let council know sort of the process going forward and to respect the integrity of the public meeting. We're requesting that council not receive any delegations until such time as we have the public meeting, and would request the council refrain from being engaged in discussions regarding the application prior to the public meeting. This is an extremely important protocol for you to follow. We've also provided the text of an email that we will send to all of those that have provided us comments during the first submission. And that will go out in the future, probably within the next week. The clerk has provided some supplemental information in the report regarding your procedural bylaw, but the request is simply keep our powder dry, not receive delegations, and wait for the process to unfold in its natural sort of way.
Okay. I have to say I have some problems with this, but I'll defer. I'll have see who else has some. Jeannie, we'll go to Jeannie Council first.
Okay, thanks, Forbes. Just to note that you were breaking up, so it was really hard to capture everything that you said. I think I got the gist of it, but this is such an important issue that I'm afraid that I didn't catch everything that you had to say. So if I understand what you were saying, I understand the process should be followed through, and that we don't want to distract from the process. And so basically you're asking for us to defer any verbal or delegations or presentations until we have the second public meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. I apologize for the connection. But it's very important this matter goes forward, that the planning process be respected and council not get of the public meetings. That's the thing.
Okay, so you're still breaking up a bit for us. I think we got what you said there. Does anybody else have further comments, Steve?
Thank you, Chair. Forbes, this process was laid out, was it not, with, and the public meeting schedule and the delegations? Is this all public information, or is this changing the process?
This is the way the process should take place. It's not changed. Nothing is being changed.
Did I hear you correctly, Forbes, that in addition to not having delegations or presentations at council, you're also recommending that we not meet or talk to anybody about it either?
Sir? That is correct. You should, as a member of the council, you should not be formulating an opinion until you've had the information presented to you at the public meeting.
I would argue that listening to people and consulting with people would be a good way to inform yourself about how to make your decision. And that only relying on a public meeting might be the worst way to inform yourself, because everybody comes in with a particular agenda. Anyway, I'll go to Brenda here. Sorry.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, what I understood Forbes' recommendation to us was not to listen, but to be careful what we say back that we already know, or because we are getting the information firsthand at the second public meeting. So that, I think I understand what he's saying, is not to formulate an opinion or let the public know which way we may be sitting without having received the public meeting information altogether. But I didn't understand him saying that, or I don't agree that he said that we couldn't listen to people. I asked him.
Can you clarify that for us? Because what I asked you specifically was, can we meet with people? And I believe you said no.
Don't have a problem with individual counselors listening to people, but you cannot engage in a debate or a discussion with them. This matter will likely end up at the Ontario Land Tribunal, and our process needs to be tight and clean, and this is what's required.
So I'm intending to go to a meeting that's being organized by this group on February, I think it's 10th or 11th. It's an information meeting, and I want to go and hear what they have to say. Am I allowed to do that under this motion?
Yes, sir.
Perfect, thank you. As long as it doesn't tie my hands as a counselor, and I feel it does a little bit, I have to say, I do have a view. And I'm gonna continue to express it. I can't turn back the clock now. But that's the way it is. I don't think these things should be built underwater. So. Sue me. Councilor Roberts.
Thank you, Jerry. Again, I think if we're following the process and the process is clear and we're in compliance with the process, and there should be no issue for us, and is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So maybe what we could use is a refresher on that process, and maybe you could send that out to council members, explaining the timelines and the extent of what that process looks like.
I'm happy to follow up in an email to council.
Great, thank you, folks. I had a second question, which had to do with the comment about the public meeting that's coming up. There have been a number of things said about the next public meeting. Of course, a lot of people have been wondering. I guess my first question is this part 2 of the same public meeting we started, or are we starting a brand new public meeting process? Question number 2 is, will it be held in the area where the people live and where this is being proposed, as opposed to Atlantic Village? Will it be held in a facility that can hold enough people? Town hall, we learned, couldn't hold all the people last time, and they were spilling out the doors. And is it possible to have this recorded? We've adopted a policy here of recording our meetings. Would it be possible to record the public meeting so that people that couldn't attend could participate in it as well? So those are my 4 questions.
The answer to the first question is it's part 2 of the original public meeting. It's a reconvening of the original public meeting, but everyone that's participated will get notice. The questions 2, 3, and 4 are matters I'm working with the clerk and the CAO to come up with an approach, a location, and to be able to accommodate everyone. So I'm working with the clerk on the latter part. I don't have answers for you. But we will try to have an appropriate location for the meeting.
Will that come back to council so we can feed in on the decision, or will we be told what the decision is?
We could certainly bring it back to council for direction.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments from anybody? We have a motion. 8.1.2, suggested motion, the council declares it will not receive or entertain delegations or presentations regarding the proposed pit prior to the reconvening of the public meeting of official plan amendment, zoning and the zoning bylaw amendment, ZBA, and the council acknowledges that the reconvening of the public meeting, the ODA and for the ZBA will be scheduled following a peer review of the resubmitted materials by the applicant in accordance with the terms of the Planning Act, and further that all those who have provided comments in the past will receive a notice of the future reconvening of the public meeting. We have a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Councillor Close, seconded by the Reeve. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, Forrest. Community services. We're over to Chelsea, talking about the Highlands North Network funding support request.
So this is a report for the funding request for the 2025-2026 SALC program application. So council will recall, we entered into an agreement with the, I'll call them H&N, Highlands North Network, last year at this time. And the grant does require you to apply every year. So same as last year, we are responsible for providing a commitment of 20% net annual cost in cash or in kind. Staff are recommending to do an in-kind contribution, same as last year. I did attach a presentation to my report. Unfortunately, it didn't get attached right away. I had some difficulties with Describe. I'm still kind of getting back into the swing of things, but did everyone have a chance to see it? Okay. Sorry about that. I also did have one error on the 2025-2026 budget that was provided. So the 15,300 you see beside program costs, that's actually just supposed to be a line above. The row there got deleted, so it's still under operating expenditures, but it's not included in the program costs. And that's for supplies, equipment, honorariums, etc. And then I had another error. And under financial implications, I put the cash in kind was 12,500. That was the number from last year. This year it's 13,750, which is listed in the budget that they should have provided. I just didn't change the amount under the financial implications, and that's just because the province increased the amount to 55,000 this year, just for like inflation. I think that's all. Oh, I did want to touch on too. There is going to be a report coming here shortly. We're in the works of transferring the operator status. So right now the township's listed as the operator for the grant. But we are working on getting that all into the H&N name. They got incorporated, etc. There's a couple documents that we have to do, but soon they're going to be the full operator. They'll be able to apply for the grant on their own. Currently the grant does need a municipal contribution of the 20% in kind, whether they're the operator or not, but the province is actually working on changing that. So eventually we might totally not have any involvement at all, but I'll have a report with more info on that coming to you guys shortly. Any questions on this?
Councilor?
Thank you for that report, Trustee. Just could that information that you sent out, could that be attached to our website? It's like maybe part of the minutes from this one.
I think it is on there now. Yeah, it's on there now.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for the report, Chelsea. I had a conversation, just in full disclosure, I had a couple of questions for Chelsea ahead of this meeting. So I've got a couple of concerns and Chelsea just basically said, one of my concerns has said, when this first came to council, it was when Chelsea was getting ready to go on maternity leave. And so there wasn't a lot of details, and then questions asked of staff after the fact. We really didn't have anyone that could answer the questions, so I had concerns at that time and vocalized them about, this being a divisive group. Now, reading the report, you're doing lots of good work, wonderful people that are involved, it seems to be thriving. My concern is twofold. One, the way this came to council and what it was promoted as was that it was going to be, that we were doing, agreeing to the 20% so that they could get included in the SL, the acronyms, the SALT program, because it really was a feather in our cap that we were included in that. So great that we got the funding for that. But when you look at the budget items, my question, so there is a cost attached to that, and then of course last year was an anomaly as far as staff goes with the turnover in Chelsea's position, so there was no one kind of overseeing this. And I had concerns at that time that it was putting a big draw on staff time, which I've since learned that it did. Going forward, yes, they should be their own entity and handling their own grant application and doing the administrative work. Part of the funding that they were getting was for a person to be paid to do this kind of work. So I'm a little curious as to what that person is actually being paid to do. And then my follow-up question would be, what happens to the assets of this group? So hypothetically, let's say this group, they're doing good work, but it becomes too much and the group disbands. What happens to the assets that they've purchased on behalf of their group? Do they become then the property of the township by virtue of the fact that we own the building? So that was a question that Chelsea said probably would be included in her next report, so I'd be curious to see that. And there's one other point I was gonna make, and my notes are a little messy, so I'll leave it at that, but I do have, I just don't want this to be a precedent setting where organizations apply for grants and need a resolution or backing of council, and then all of a sudden it becomes an entity that we are responsible for.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chelsea, for the report. Jeannie's making some good points, and I'm wondering if something like an MOU or a memorandum of understanding can be developed for HNN.
I was just thinking along the same lines, and I think that would look nice with my next report coming to council for the operator, because then we're gonna be changing the verbiage of who's responsible for what, and everything is gonna change as far as how we've been running. So I think that would make sense to have an MOU or an agreement similar to what we have with the community centers and the youth center and the library.
Thank you. Councillor Close?
Thank you, through you, Chair. Chelsea, can you describe what the in-kind would entail and how, like how you decipher how much?
So obviously staff time, I think I had it in here somewhere. So it can be, costs directly related to the seniors program delivery, the insurance as well, our insurance, they're also getting their own insurance to kind of cover any gaps that ours wouldn't cover. So insurance, staff time, could be in forms of goods, services, youth facilities, or labor. So I think the idea was so they applied for the special grant last year, they didn't get it. But if they're reapplying to do these outdoor bulletin boards communication, so I think we'd be able to provide them with some labor assistance with getting those installed, etc. But it's kind of just as the year goes on, it kind of just all ends up that way.
Thank you, and I think moving forward, hopefully the commission, where they can be standalone and remove that clause that we have to provide the in-kind would be great, a lot better off.
Councilor Roberts, did you have one?
Thank you, Chair. Much the same with what that was going to intend was, some of my questions, but, the second part of my question that it has answered was the seniors assisted living is a standalone entity by itself, is it not? And HNN is partnering with them.
So the SALC, yeah, so that's a grant ran by the province. It's called the Seniors Active Living Center Grant, and it's all through the province, so we have a regional advisor that we reach out to. And then the HNN applies through us, because we're technically the operator right now, but we're working on changing that.
So, part of, the previous question, the council about assets and stuff, some of the assets are held in that seniors assisted living, corporation or incorporated, whatever it is.
So right now, they don't have much as terms of assets, but you'll see in the special grant, they're looking to get like a colored printer, filing cabinet, so I think those are the assets, Councilor Kelso was referring to. So I think all of those assets, we're gonna discuss it, and that would be listed in the MOU or the agreement, whichever we wanna call it, moving forward, and I'll put that in the next report I bring about the operator change.
Super good. I did have some experience with that, with the assets pertaining to rentals, they lend you medical equipment, they can lend you wheelchairs, this and stuff, and it was a really good benefit for a lot of people in your program. I don't see that for our biggest family as well.
Councilor Reagan.
Thank you, Chair. I thought that OREG 193/24 changed in June of last year, where they can contribute 20%. And the only reason I ask is because I know that they charge for some of the items going on, so do we know like where that revenue is going, or is that, why are they not partnering on the 20%?
So I think I do have an answer for you on that. So, Barb, she's the HNN, she runs the HNN. She said, I asked Sharon's the regional advisor, when we take over operations, would we be able to self-contribute the in-kind? As that option is now available to new SALCs joining this year. She said, unfortunately, no, not as it stands now, but I think it's because we applied last year before this was the new regulation. But it sounds like they're gonna work on trying to get that in for the SALCs that joined previously to the, she said this year, but I think she means 2022.
Thank you. Does that any?
Councilor
Thank you
Sutton.
through your chair. It does, but my follow-up question to that is, if they are now a standalone entity, could they not apply on their own this year? That would be a first application. Or they're not there yet.
So I'm still familiarizing myself with all of this. It is a bit funky. Because when I asked Sharon, like, can the township choose to opt out of the agreement? Like, can we just say like, we don't wanna do this anymore, we wanna opt out? And she said, as long as the organization taking over commits to contributing the 20% contribution. So it's still a little bit fuzzy, but can I get an answer for you on that? And I'll talk to Sharon.
Okay, thank you. We have a suggested motion. The Council Township Atlantic Highlands commits to providing the Highlands North Network 20% of the net annual cost of maintaining and operating the SALC program in kind for the 2025-2026 application. The staff be directed to submit an application based on the Highlands North Network programming draft budget, the Seniors Active Living Centers program funding opportunity on behalf of the Highlands North Network, and that staff be authorized to enter into an agreement with Highlands North Network for the administration of the grant funding, and further that the matter be brought to the council meeting of January 28th, 2025 to ensure application is submitted prior to the February 6th, 2025 deadline. Is that moved by Councillor?
Well, I will move it, but I'd like to just add something to that. So I can appreciate because the deadline is February 6th, so it is sort of time sensitive, so I would hate to just see them miss out because of the date. But I think they should be fully aware that the situation has changed. So I'm prepared to make the motion, knowing full well that this is the last time I'm gonna support this.
We have a second,
As is.
As is.
Yes.
Yes.
seconded by Marie. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Chelsea, and back to Chelsea on hanging basket RFQ.
So we issued an RFQ at the end of December. We're a little late this year, just from me being off and coming back in. So it closed January 20th. We had, Green Acres apply, so they've been doing our hanging baskets for a number of years now. We're happy with their services. They provide watering, which is great. Adds a nice little color to downtown Lanark. So last year, when I was looking into this to get this RFQ reissued, I actually asked Councillor Summers to help me out with just a little background on what was discussed at the last meeting about this RFQ. Because I did hear from Claus that there was some discussion about adding baskets at various hamlets, if council will recall. So I did my best to interpret that just without actually having attended that meeting. So my idea was adding in some hanging baskets to each of the community centers, just so that we could say that there was some beautification spread out. I only did one, but we can add if we want to do 2, 3, 4, whichever council thinks would be best. Unfortunately, Green Acres wouldn't be able to water those just because it's so spread out over the township, but I think the volunteers at the community centers, I think we'd be able to get them involved with maintaining them throughout the summer. So that's aspect one that I'd like some direction on council with, just with the hamlets and whatnot, and if we want to just stick with the 8 or if we want to increase that. And then number 2, so I have heard just some comments from the public, staff, council, etc. About our flowers. Like I said, we're happy with Green Acres. I do hear compliments about them every year, but I'm just kind of seeking some guidance from council on if a change, you guys would like to see a change, if you're hoping to see more bids for these RFQs. I did reach out to several local nurseries, and there's 2 of the reasons why they don't apply is, one, we're a little bit further out, so they wouldn't be able to provide the watering. And 2, what a lot of them do, I guess, is the townships buy their own hanging baskets, so the actual baskets, and then the nurseries fill them. So, if this is something council's interested in doing, just to maybe get a few more, bids in the future. I can look in to see what the cost would be if we take over our own watering and, getting some hanging baskets. And we can kind of go from there. I'll bring up a report to council in the future on that. Yeah, like, do we want to see different types? Are we thinking maybe more municipal garden beds, the budget? I do know after talking to some other municipalities, our budget is definitely a lot smaller than what they do. So we are getting a good price from Green Acres, especially because they do the watering. So yeah, I'm just kind of hoping for an open discussion on this and maybe getting some background. And I am recommending only entering into a 1 year, just so I can look into some changes if that's something council wishes to see.
Have thoughts? I'll turn to you guys for close.
Thank you, Chair, thanks Chelsea for the report. I had a person actually reach out to me, like right at the last minute, and got the information required, what the cost was from the last time the contract went out, and I haven't spoken to them since, but I'm assuming that they probably didn't bid on it because they probably don't think they couldn't compete with that price, so that's my thought. So I'm happy with the way it is, it stands now. I'd like to do the ones at the other community halls, and I'd say probably put 2 at each community hall. I would be in favor of that, and spreading it around the township, so that's my thoughts.
Maybe I'll just jump in and say I agree with that. And on terms of, first of all, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. The fact that he does bid up in this area and the others don't, let's not lose that. I take the point about if we take in a whole bunch more costs, we can make it more affordable for them to come and bid on us, but that, all we're doing is subsidizing a private contractor. I would rather I'd like to see more beautification if we could afford it. But I'd like to see private landscapers and private contractors whose business it is. We can contract a very specific service and not try to, particularly this year where we don't have any, summer students at all. So we don't even have summer students to put on this. Councilor Reagan?
Thank you, Chair. Chelsea, did you include Middleville Museum in the community centers, just because the village gets several? So I'm gonna request that the motion be changed to also include the museum to have a couple hanging baskets as well, because I know the village gets it as well.
And Jeannie?
So, I've had pretty strong opinions on this actually for a few years, but what I noticed last year, I don't know whether it was done the year before, the hamlets have signage or the flags as opposed to, like, for the winter months. And I don't know whether anything is put on those for the summer months. Having flowers, yeah, that's great. I think the community centers, if they had a bee on, could, provide their own flowers. I'm not in favor of putting flowers out at all the community centers. I do think the main drag, here in the village needs the beautification. I'd be more in favor of going to the hamlets to doing something with flags. Something that can be used over and over again, that doesn't, have a cost attached to keeping it alive. That's just my thought.
And Allison?
Sorry, Chelsea, Jeannie just sparked my memory. So we still have some of the township signs that are like the old signs. If we can, I know there's at least one or two in my ward and there's one up here. If we can look at change, they're like 2 or 3 logos ago, I think. If we can potentially get those changed out, because I know that people comment all the time on the ones up in our ward anyways, that we're the word that got forgotten because it's from 3 logos ago. So we could just maybe look into that as well and getting those updated. Yeah.
McDonald's Corners Road, Tay Valley, never got changed
Yeah.
either way.
Yeah, no, that's right. Can I just respond to something? Just a note on the summer students, just to clarify, we didn't get a submission in for the funding from the province for additional summer students, but we do still intend to hire our typical summer student or laborer positions for our Parks and Rec support for the summer. Just a clarification on that point.
Councilor Thomas?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chelsea. You did capture our conversation well. I know it was hard to remember. We now hopefully have recordings so we can go back. What was the biggest thing that was in our discussion was having some more beautification in the hamlets on the drags. So I know that it becomes challenging because we already have the hanger pieces that we got the Lanark Highlands logo on all of these hydro poles. So there is an additional cost above the flowers to putting beautification in the hamlets. So I understand that, but I just wanted to know that because that was sort of the meat and potatoes of the conversation last time we had this. But I also am struggling with just the timing of our budget process, and I know not a problem this day. I totally understand why we're in the position. But I'm constantly hounded as Ward 4 that, you know, beautification only happens here and everyone has to pay for beautification only on the main drag. So that was also part of the reason, was if we can spread it out, then, you know, taxpayer money is going towards beautification of the entire township. So for that reason, I am in support of the idea of the community halls as a start. But I think during budget time, we need to have a conversation of beautification in general. And it is part of the Recreation Advisory Committee mandate, so that is maybe something we could start a brainstorming session there on. Because like Jeannie said, whether it's banners, whether many municipalities now have the LED light stuff as you're coming in that's year round. So we could maybe have a conversation on that, and perhaps there's grant opportunities or such like for that as well.
Councilor Roberts?
Thank you. The only input I would have on the hanging baskets is pertaining to the watering. I would keep the watering with the company that's doing the baskets. I wouldn't want to see their staff have to do that. It's almost a daily event if it's a hot situation, and it's probably most important thing to have and to keep them, looking good, so, we're happy with, the Green Acres greenhouses, and, I think it's due to also the proficient watering, couple of inches in the water, they won't look very good. On the other note, for the options for through the township, maybe if that is inside of the terms for the recreation, you can have a strip on part of it and bring back some options that would, we could look at, and it would be the whole flow, not us bringing it down, but then coming back down, or actually, sorry. We learn for that.
Councilor Nelson.
So I'm prepared to make the motion, for the 1 year, just this year's contract, and then, have a, well, yeah, go ahead.
Just judging from council's discussion, I think it would be okay to enter into the 2 years. I was only gonna do the 1 year. If you guys were thinking of totally changing it up, but it kind of sounds like council is happy with what we've been getting, and like I said, staff is happy as well with this. And then the cost will just be changing on the motion, because we're gonna be adding, council's agreement that we can do 2 at each of the community centers, yeah. We do have some extra brackets actually, so I think we may actually have enough to be able to do that. We may have to purchase a couple more, and then 2 at Millville Museum and 2 at the Lantern Village Museum. So the cost will just increase. I don't have it on me right on hand, but it's gonna go to council on February 11th, so you'll see the cost increase there. It was, what did I put here,
32 for 8.
Yeah, 332 for 8, so it'll be just over 1,500 around there probably, extra in the council resolution.
Okay, through the chair then, if you want to change the wording to reflect what Chelsea just, put across, I would be prepared to make that motion.
Through you, Chair, I have the first part confirmed will be that council award a 2-year contract for the hanging baskets and flower barrels to Green Acres Greenhouse and Landscaping in the amount of, that's where I have nothing. So we can certainly make that correction in time for the council agenda and put it on there appropriately, but for now it reads $12,727.55.
Right. And again, through the chair,
Annual
taking away that last paragraph,
for 2025 and
2026, right?
correct.
Yeah, and just drop the last paragraph.
Absolutely.
So is everybody clear on that, Councilor Post?
Well, the only thing we're not clear on is we're not clear on the extra hanging baskets, and if those communities are gonna look after them and do the watering. I saw it included in the price, so. Yes, exactly, we don't water them, they're gonna die, so we have to get, we're gonna have to get buy-in from the community halls, they're gonna willing to take on that responsibility. If they're not, there's not much sense in putting them there.
So maybe that's the discussion each one can have, if you, can you guys take care of these, yes or no?
Yeah, I would say the motion is provided that the community halls are willing to look after the watering, and then we go ahead and put them, if they don't wanna do that, then. Because we've already been told it's too expensive for the provider to go up, it would be. Yeah, so it's quite a distance to travel to do them all.
And that flowers be provided to willing host community halls. Okay, any further? All right, I think I had a mover with Jeannie and a seconder with Ron. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Chelsea. Corporate services. Rhonda, the treasurer. Other services.
Thank you, Chair. So in November, I issued an RFP for audit services, beginning with the 2023 audits. The RFP is for 3 years with an option to extend for a further 2 years. So I sent an invitation to 8 firms and I received 2 bids back. In my report, I've provided you with what it came down to really was a comparison of the financial pieces, because municipal audits are standardized by the Public Sector Accounting Board and through CPA Ontario, and they're also regulated, if you will, by practice inspections that happen through CPA Ontario. So they have their own checks and balances and how they conduct municipal audits. So really, both firms are capable of doing the work, so it came down to the financial pieces, and I'll just go through those quickly. So for the financial audit itself, I had a hard time comparing the KPMG price with BDO, simply because BDO did not include the museums and cemeteries, and we have 2 museums and 13 cemeteries. So that could be a substantial amount added to just the financial audit piece. The additional fees, again, BDO did not provide anything, because they don't know us, they're not in here. I feel though that they will, add to the scope of the audit once they're here and they start working. KPMG has, provided 15,000. That's based on their past experience with the municipality and, the turnover of staff and the change in processes that has caused a bit of hiccups in some areas, if you will. But with the assistance of Carol Fuller and myself, I really feel like that piece can be reduced if not eliminated entirely. The FIR, in both cases, Carol will be doing it, so we won't be paying for either firm to be doing that piece. And the same with the accounting assistance, with Carol here. That's not a part of, that won't be, included in KPMG's bid, it'll be reduced. So the only piece that will be under both bids is, the asset retirement obligation piece, which is new. So I feel like both of those are comparable, both, pieces. So really, it was difficult to compare the BDO bid, simply because there were, parts missing, particularly in the major piece, which is the financial audit, the first piece. So for those reasons, I am recommending that, we go with KPMG. We do have an established relationship with that firm, although I don't know any of the players. I don't know the senior partner that's the lead, and I don't know the staff. I have not worked with them in the past, they're new to me, but I feel very comfortable moving forward with KPMG. And I'd also like the motion to go forward this evening, simply because if there is an audit slot available in the upcoming weeks, that they can get in here and start working on 2023, I'd like to take advantage of that. Thank you.
Excellent report, thank you. Questions from anybody, Council?
Yeah.
Moved by Councillor Verhagen, seconded by Councillor Kelso. All in favor? You're done.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Now we're on to Atlantic County Attachment Board. Transition Committee recommendations.
So Ron can probably deliver this report much better than I can, seeing as how he was present for the meeting. But in essence, as you'll see from the minutes, what the transition committee is looking for is the support of their recommendations to the police services board of the 2 community members, which are, and excuse me if I get the pronunciation wrong, Michelle Vermette and Rod Bowes. They are also seeking to make a few changes to their terms of reference. The top of my head. One of the things I noted was that Carlton Place will be responsible for updating the website. That was one of the pieces. Maybe Ron can fill in, but a few changes which you can see attached in your agenda to their terms of references. As well as authorization of the draft budget, which was also attached to your package. So those are the few changes that came out of their meeting last Friday, 2 Fridays ago. Yeah. If I missed anything wrong?
No, I think you captured it pretty much. Very happy that our representative was chosen and was spoken quite highly of. We had a meeting. Michelle can't be here tonight, but he sent an email and is looking forward to it. So he said he's just getting started with the the board before it was terminated, now he's looking forward to being on the new board, so. Position's only gonna be for 2 years until it's done at the end of the term of council, but, I think he's a great asset, they were a little confused, I think they thought he was from Mississippi Mills, and I had to correct them after he was promoted on, and, no, he's from Maddox Islands. So it's good for us, yeah, I think, in the report, I think everything else was laid out there, and if Carl Place is willing to take over the website and do that job, it's like, knock yourself out and let them do it, so. Cause there's not a lot of people stepping up and saying they want the job, so. It's high time to get the board moving forward, because we were first out of the gate, and then all of a sudden we became last, because of, trying to get the board size, pared down, so. We still have not heard anything about the provincial reps. I have not gotten any emails or any information on that, but, we need the 2 provincial reps before we go any farther as a board, so.
Okay,
I'll make a motion.
Councillor Kelso makes the motion, Councillor Bacon seconds that. We have a motion that you've all read to confirm the appointments of Michelle Vermette and Ron Bowes. To approve the OPP budget, 2025 budget, to approve the terms of reference, and that the motion be brought to council tonight. All in favor? That's carried. Very much. Public Works and Waste Management, there's nothing underneath today. Okay. So, new and other business, council committee updates, anything further, Ron, on OPP? I think I would just add that, for your benefit, that when we were in Roma in Toronto last weekend, one of the delegations the county had was with, the Solicitor General, who is very collegial, knew his file inside and out, knew his issues here. He had 2 of the commanders of the OPP, I think the deputy commanders were in the meeting there as well. And they were making comments specific to Lanark. Everybody knows Inspector Needham and stuff like that. And the 2 issues that we raised with them were safety on Highway 7.
That was another delegation.
Yeah, I think we met with the MTO on that as well. And also the costing, obviously, of the what it costs. And they're doing a whole review on that right now. They did the one-time special help to us and everybody else, but they know that they can't be sustained, so just. Yeah.
Yeah, just touching on that a little bit, I don't know if anybody saw today that the Lanark here, there's an important part in there about, expropriating land for on Highway 7, so they're looking at new changes to the Highway 7, they're already in the expropriation stage now, so yeah, what's Carl Place did. Yeah, so it's gonna be moving, and hopefully it's to a safer highway. We were providing details a while ago, the number of, accidents and fatalities, there in Lanark Highlands is not bad, what little piece we have of Highway 7, we have a little piece, but, there has been fatalities at that intersection in years past, so, we are part of it.
Great.
Yeah, we have that report from 2015, I think it was, to 2024 on the fatalities and the injury accidents. And there was none, I think, after 2015 in Lanark Islands, but they were all the Burns Falls Road or at the end of the passing lane, I think, which is all Mississippi Mills. It was divided between the 2. I had seen a report there quite a while ago, but I believe they're doing on Carl Place, put a Jersey wall down the middle. So there'll be no crossing over to business, you'll have to go either to Highway 15 or nearly to cross over to the other side. And they must put a 3rd lane on or something because to expropriate the front top of every business along there. Very much, because that's the expropriation list is, 21 sites, I think it is across there, so.
I haven't heard of that.
Hopefully, it's, to me, the problem right now is you want to go straight through Highway 7. And, almost 2/3 of the traffic is turning left, so that lane is getting blocked, so people are running up on the right turn lane and cutting in and front of you and stuff, so. Hopefully they get away from that, have 3 lanes on that side, clear that up.
Yeah, you really notice that, there's a little trick to staying in the right-hand lane and cutting in at the left.
That causes accidents.
Everybody knows that. Okay, planning committee, any date set?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, it is February 20th.
So not now.
Finally, having a meeting.
Another month. Library board, nothing to report, I mentioned that I missed the last meeting. Because it conflicted with a county meeting where I was at, but I did want to make sure that everybody took a look at the year-end review that they sent in, the communications package. And there's neat stuff in here, like one person borrowed 1,316 items last year.
Yeah.
That's a lot of reading. Now, they do more than just reading. Did you know that you could borrow a radon detector? So that's very useful. Things like that. A pass to the Canadian Museum of Nature. So it's an excellent resource, and as always, we encourage everybody to use it. The Lanark Highlands Youth Center Councilor for Reagan.
Thank you, Chair. So we have a meeting again next week, but we're still, or 2 weeks maybe, we're still looking for an executive director. So if anybody's interested, and they're looking into and kind of diving into some of the planet use initiatives, so some good things coming, I think.
Good. Thank you. On the Lanark Museum, Councilor Close.
Nothing on the museum, and while I'm here now on the traffic advisory work group, there's nothing, there's not a category there probably should be for it. I believe the signs are up down, they put the signs up in Middleville, I don't know, are they
Your McDonald's, yeah.
Farmers as well, so there will be a press release coming out from,
They're big.
from them, so. Regarding traffic cameras.
Okay. I think I brought back some literature from Roma and traffic cameras. Middleville Museum,
We haven't met through our meeting.
Conservation Authority, Councilor Kelso.
No report, I've had a meeting, I think the next one is, in February.
Any update from our prior, Councilor Roberts?
No, he's speaking to Brenda on Thursday.
Thank you. Recreation Advisory Committee, Councilor Summers.
No report, we meet next week, but just a little update from last week's meeting on Yuck Yucks. Yuck Yucks is sold out. We have moved to the McDonald's Corners Agriculture Hall because timber run wasn't available. So that brought costs down astronomically. I think it was like $300 and change. They gave us a really good deal. So happy to report it will be successful.
Happy anniversary, by the way.
Thank you.
Municipal grants, Councilor Kelso.
No report.
Waste Committee, Councilor Kelso.
I think some of the subcommittees are gonna meet in February, but our next meeting isn't until March.
Idea Committee, Regional Planning.
Nothing since the last.
I have a suggested motion that Council Committee appointment updates be received as information. It's moved by Councilor Close and seconded by Councilor Summers. All in favor? Carried. All right, we have a CAO update, 4 items. Suzanne?
Thank you, Chair. Before I get into the bullet points, I did just want to make a quick note. We had the public open house for the Sheridan Rapids North and South Bridge replacement designs on past Thursday, the 23rd. Unfortunately, it was not well attended by members of the public. So in lieu of that, we've left the boards up on display, and we will continue to do so for the next period until our next council meeting. Just to provide people with the opportunity to see that information. And if there are questions, they can be directed to either myself or Steve Rothwell for the time being, on behalf of our public works manager position, which is currently being recruited for. So any questions on that little note before So the first point on the Lanark Highlands Youth Center, I did just want to give an update from where we were directed at the last meeting for staff to bring forward a report on the challenges that are currently impacting our relationship between the township and the youth center. So as a first step, myself and our manager of facilities and community affairs, met with the current chair, Warren, and the current until January 31st, executive director, Rena, and talked through some of the items. So I just wanted to give kind of a quick update of some of the pieces that we touched on. So we, their staffing changes and the movement there. We have a draft memorandum of understanding, that we've been working back and forth on, so we were able to get some feedback on that draft. I make some changes that, I think will serve both sides well. We are trying to work with them to get their payroll system up and going. And through the meeting, we were actually able to have them introduced to Rhonda, our new director, and Rhonda can provide some assistance in that process. So she has a follow-up meeting with them this week to assist with that, as well as to give them some of the updates on the 2024 financial information that they were requesting. We walked through some of the health and safety and building maintenance items that they had on their list, and discussed some of the past challenges around facility bookings and rates. Talked through, again, some of the conflicts and how the provincial grants see us as an entity and the youth center as an entity, and how we can hopefully resolve some of those. And then discuss some of the plans around the arena with the stream two of the sport and social, the sport and recreation infrastructure fund grant that's specific to the arena. And that we had, through the direction from council, looked into the differences in the design and the cost that would be related to incorporating the youth center within that building. So we certainly had a productive discussion about the potential and possibilities and where we're at with that, and a commitment to have further discussions back with their board on that topic. In general, I think the big theme was trying to improve our communication and our working relationship, and as such, we've committed to hold quarterly meetings. So our next one will be set for March, and we certainly had a number of follow-up items from this meeting. And as well, we will have, so Chelsea will prepare a staff report for the next council meeting in order to formally provide some of these outlines to what the proposed solutions were in our next steps. Questions, Howard?
Yeah, Allison.
Chair, to you, I would just like to thank staff for taking the time and meeting with them and going through those items. At our last meeting, they did already bring forward stating a thank you. So I would just like to thank you all for taking that time and for making the progress towards rebuilding the relationship.
Good stuff. Okay, thank you. So you're on to your next item.
Thank you, Chair. The next is the Health and Safety Excellence Program. Again, I just wanted to provide an update. So we are registered in the program and we've had our first action plan topic selection. So this we expect to be for the first 8 months. These fall under broad categories, but what they're titled is leadership and commitment, health and safety responsibilities, health and safety communication, health and safety participation, and hazard reporting. So as we get deeper into this, we will again bring staff reports forward that give a bit more detail as to what exact action items relate to this, but I just wanted to provide that as an update. And we did have Vika Wilkins, our consultant, attend a site visit this week, so yesterday on the 27th. And so we were able to visit our administration offices, the arena, and the Middleville Public Works people, just as samples of our work sites. So this involved, checking on our health and safety board, making sure we have the available information, how site inspections are kind of held generally, and have some of those discussions. And so with our package, the consultant will draft the standards and policies required in each of those action items. And so this just gave an opportunity for them to capture some of the unique pieces that will relate to Lanark Highlands for those drafts. But that is the next step of the plan, is to start seeing some of those pieces of documentation. Questions on that?
Steve? Just who attended with you, Ron?
Through you, Chair. So I went with the consultant to those locations, and as well, we had, Will Forsyth as the lead hand attend the arena with us. When we were at, he also had us, provided us access into the Public Works people, but none of the Public Works members were available. We did, call them to ask if they had any specific issues or concerns related to health and safety that they wanted to raise at this time. And then again, for the township offices themselves, we were able to introduce Vika to any of the staff that were present that day. And we did take a walk through of the fire station, as well. Okay. On quick note on our departmental updates, our Q4 reports. So we have had a bit of a busy start to the year, but we are aiming to bring those departmental reports forward to council in February. So just wanted to give a heads up on that. And a couple of points on grants and funding opportunities. So through some of the announcements at the Rural Ontario Municipal Association Conference held last week, we are hopeful to hear announcements from the province on the Housing Enabling Core Services Grant. So we did apply for that to fund 50% of the Sheridan Rapids Bridge replacements, and we just haven't heard as to whether or not we were successful with that. So we have fair fingers crossed. Again, the Ontario Trillium Fund Capital Grant is due on March 5th, and so Chelsea is preparing a survey to collect some input from the public as to what community recreation facilities would be a priority, and just some of the ways that we could consider how this funding would be applied. And again, we will come forward to council with a more detailed selection of projects to get approval for that grant submission. And then the province announced an additional 325 million in funding to support critical water infrastructure, again, under that housing enabling portfolio, but housing enabling water systems fund. So staff are looking into the applicability of this grant and the option for the township. I just wanted to flag that we were aware of it, so if you see it, just know that we are, we're on it. And that's what I had for tonight.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councilor Brayden?
Thank you, Chair. Any update on vacancies at the township?
Chair. So we did hold our interviews for the Public Works Manager, and we are going a little bit off the norm where we would typically do a reference check just at the kind of completion of a process. We've decided to do a reference check almost as a mid-process. And so far from what's the feedback, we've only completed half the reference checks at this point, but they're scheduled to be completed at the end of the day tomorrow. We would expect that we will have a follow-up interview process with one candidate. And our hope is that we make a decision one way or another on that position prior to holding the interviews and selection for the operations supervisor position.
Thank you.
Okay, excellent. We have a suggested motion that the CAO update be received as information, moved by Councilor Council, seconded by Councilor Clarence, in favor, and that's carried. Camera, no deferred. I have a motion that the committee of the whole meeting adjourned. 7:18. 7:18. Thank you. Wherever your phone is at. Moved as Jeannie, seconded by Councilor Summers, all in favor, and that's great. We're done.
Well, you're continuing interest now, or at that point in the meeting, two of them for Marina. And so I have approved the agenda as amended, we are adding a, in camera. Jeannie moving it, seconded by. Yes, seconder. To amend the agenda.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, just so the public is aware, the second closed session is regarding a property matter located in concession 5 and 6, part lot 3. And council will be moving into closed session for reasons under the Municipal Act 2392. Items B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including employees of the municipality or local board. E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals involving the municipality or its local boards. And F, advice subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications required for that purpose.
Seconder for the motion. Marina, all in favor? Carried. The minutes from January 14th, I have Marina moving, seconded by Jeannie, all in favor? Carried. Down to reports, Bill from January 14th.
First report of the committee of the whole, January 14th, we remember Reg Leads report section A's information, section B as follows. B2. The committee of the whole directs staff to proceed with the road closing procedures for a portion of the road allowance being about 315 meters long, located between lot 27 of Atlantic Township and lot 1 of Darling Township, and south of the Forest Road, commonly known as Work Road, brackets Ridgefield. And furthermore, once the survey is prepared, the staff report come back to declare the property as surplus. B3, municipal grant recommendation. The council adopts the recommendation of the Municipal Grants Committee with respect to the allocation of 2025 grant funds as outlined in report CA 2025-01, and the approval of the 2025 operating and capital budget. And the staff are authorized to issue the funds as recommended if approved upon the adoption of the 2025 operating and capital budget. And that council agree to the recommended changes to the municipal grant application and corporate bylaw be brought forth to the next council meeting of January 28th, 2025. And that an evaluation matrix similar to the version used by the County of Lanark be adopted for future applications. And further, that council approves the recommended 2024 Achievement Award recipients. B4, Cal 2025-6, the council received fire protection grant update for information, and the council authorizes 2025 pre-budget approval of $32,921.80 for the purchase of bunker gear extractors. B5, motion 2025-7. The report COR 2025-12, request for franchise agreement with Enbridge Gas be received for information. The council approves the form of draft bylaw and franchise agreement attached here 2 and authorizes the submission thereof to the Ontario Energy Board for approval pursuant to the provisions of Section 9 of the Municipal Franchises Act. And the council requests the Ontario Energy Board make an order declaring and directing that the assent of the municipal electors to the attached draft bylaw and franchise agreement pertaining to the Corporation Township Atlantic Highlands is not necessary pursuant to the provisions of Section 9.9 brackets 4 of the Municipal Franchises Act. And further that the draft bylaw be given first and second reading at the January 28th, 25 meeting. B6, the council approved policy HR-11 disconnecting from work policy as presented in compliance with the Employment Standards Act 2000 and the Working for Workers Act 2021. B11, The council authorizes the sale of 6 township-owned recycling container bins to Alexander Waste Services for $10,000 plus applicable taxes. All of which is respectfully submitted by myself and seconded by Councilor Close.
Does anybody wanna move one of these sections out? I see Marina's hand up.
Thank you, through your chair, I need to declare on B three and A8, so I wonder if we could vote on B3 separately.
Sure. Just B3, you said,
A8 is not a voting, it's not.
yeah, it's just, and Jeannie, you had something?
Yeah, B5.
B5? So we'll vote on B3 without Marina, so I need a mover and a seconder to separate it out. Bill and Ron, we'll move it anyway, but we have to separate. All in favor of that motion? It's carried. And now we'll discuss B5.
So, I just want to, clarify that this is only first and second pass.
Yeah.
And that, I'm under the impression that Enbridge has agreed to hold a second public meeting.
Yeah.
And I just want the public to know that, so,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, that's the procedure that they go through and then it goes to because I think it's already to a certain degree approved at the energy board or they've never started.
Okay.
So everybody's curious, you don't need to separate vote, so. So I'll ask for a vote on the rest of the, other than B3. All in favor? Sorry, moved and seconded, and that's carried.
Sorry, did we have a seconder on that?
Yeah, it was Ron, it was the original motion with Ron as the seconder. And that gets us to motions. The Highlands North Network, moved by Ron, seconded by Bill, that council of the Township of Lanark Highlands commit to providing the Highlands North Network 20% of the net annual cost to maintain and operate the South program in kind for the 2025-26 application, and the staff be directed to submit an application based on the Highlands North Network program draft budget to the Seniors Active Living Center program funding opportunity on behalf of the Highlands North Network, and the staff be authorized to enter into an agreement with the Highlands North Network for the administration of the grant funding. And all in favor? Carried. The next one's moved by Steve, seconded by Jeannie. That RFP Finance 2024-01 be awarded to KPMG for the 23-24-25 audits for with the option to extend the contract an additional 2 years, being 26 and 27. All in favor?
I have a record.
Sure.
You just go around the table and all in favor, all opposed?
Yeah.
Councillor Roberts,
Again.
Councillor Close,
In favor?
Councillor King,
In favor.
Councillor Boykin,
In favor.
Councillor Summers,
In favor.
Councillor Kelso,
In favor.
Marie McLaren,
In favor.
and that carries.
So the next one is the Lanark County Detachment Board transition, moved by Allison, seconded by Jeannie. The council confirmed the appointment of Michelle Vermette and Rod Bowes as the 2 community representatives to the Lanark County OPP Detachment Board until the end of the current term of council. And the council approved the draft 25 Lanark County OPP Detachment Board budget. And the council approved the terms of reference for the Lanark County OPP Detachment Board attached as Appendix B to the staff report COR 2025-17 be approved. All in favor? Carried. Bylaws, Enbridge franchise, moved by Marina, seconded by Bill. The bylaw number 2025-1948 being a bylaw to authorize a franchise agreement between the corporation of the Township of Lanark Highlands and Enbridge Gas be given a first and second reading. All in favor? carries. County updates. As Bill said, we have the 3 delegations at Roma, the first one being a report on number 7, and they had that list that Ron mentioned of the accidents since, I think, 2015 that had fatalities and injuries. And one of the things in the discussion, they kind of wanted to maybe know about near misses, because those aren't ever reported. I did tell of one where there was an OPP officer that come around the corner at you know, that the tight corner kind of the Carl Place beside a transport. I met a lady in her lane. And she figured the transport must have went out in the shoulder. I said, I'd be very reluctant to do that on that corner. And they didn't meet, but of course she went back and stopped the car. And so that's one. Now, I'm assuming that would be reported through her as a near miss, but it's other ones like that, that there's maybe issues and spots in the road that unless there's a severe accident, they don't know about. So one of those things. And the other one was the Solicitor General, and I do think they gave some mention about the provincial reps. They didn't say any names, but they were working on naming the provincial reps for the police service board. So there's currently was 4, I believe, that one of them was named just 2 years ago, I think, just before the process started. So I was assuming they would pick 2 of them if they were available. And the other one was more sort of like a thank you, was talking about the bridge house. It's in Smith Falls. And it's along the line of getting homeless people off the street, and they're expanding it. And I think they're asking for a grant to expand it a little bit more. We're up to what, 21 people in it now? And what was announced today, and I think I seen it a little bit earlier, the county got a $600,000 grant to upgrade, I think it's a build on Alton Street through Carebridge. And that was, I think, just made public today. I was sure I'd seen the same report about a week ago that was sent, but I didn't really see the county's name on it. It was 300 and some million dollars went out. Like a lot of the municipalities got $2 and $3 million towards build of some sort. And this again was to take away from encampments. And Emily said, we have no encampments at the current time in the county. Whereas a year ago, I think they talked of like 8 or 10 of them. And a year and a half ago, there was one that, there was one in the township here someplace. I don't know, somebody said they knew where it was, but I never heard of it. But there was a fairly big one at Port Elmsley, back in off the road there, right back in the river, so. And they were made aware of that. They said we make a monthly report of the encampments in the county to wherever it is. In spite of not having encampments, they got 600,000, so. But it goes on to the by name list, so they'll be pulling people that are living in their car or trailer or something like that, but not congregated as a group, so. You know, anything else you want to add, Bill, to that?
Just that the Lanark County got approved for one of those, it's called the Heart Hub. It's the Homeless and Addictions Recovery Treatment Hub. It would be a facility in Smith Falls. It'll be the first treatment center for addictions in Lanark County.
I think it's a bridge house, isn't it?
Well, yeah, same building as the Bridge House.
Yeah.
It'll have 8 treatment beds and 9 transitional housing beds. The director of our homeless or our social services said she called it a monumental investment for the community. It's, for a long time, people have had nowhere to turn when they for outings, for treatment. So hopefully this will be the start of a good thing.
Yeah, I had a discussion with John Jordan at one point through the, he's run into him all the time. And it was kind of had the thoughts the last few days before that is, if everybody here remembers Rideau Regional, what happened after they closed the Rideau Regional? What was the homeless situation after that? And he said, yeah, it probably went up because there was really not enough halfway houses and stuff, like probably the more severely handicapped. There was spaces for them, but a lot of the other ones, because basically almost everybody that's homeless, they're either an addict or it's they're mentally challenged of some sort or both. So that's, you know, it was hated when it started, it was hated when it ended, and maybe it wasn't a good idea to stop, I don't know. It was- Marina?
Thank you. I don't know if this is an appropriate time, but I just wanted to mention that Pivotal Health, which is an organization that supports Smith Falls, Perth, Lanark Village, and Carlton Place, opens their annual funding this Sunday at 10 a.m. So they are a nonprofit organization that really support mental health and free programming, so that is available to our community if anyone's interested.
And I guess that's about it. Bill moving that, seconded by Jeannie, that the Lanark County updates be received as information. All in favor? Carried. Next meeting is February 11th and then the 25th. Questions and comments from the public? Larry?
Larry Captain White Lake, on behalf of HNN, Highlands North Network, I want to thank council for approving the in-kind funding. I also want to thank staff for support and cooperation in getting this program off the ground. Thank you.
Thanks, Larry. You were at the presentation last year with Minister Angel. That was, that's at Robertson's Lake. He's quite the dude, isn't he?
Yeah, he's very energetic, very energetic.
Yeah, for 82 years old.
I think he's running into too.
That was last year. That's it. Thanks, Larry. So now we move into an in-camera session. 8:17.
It's not right.
What?
It's 7:48.
7:48.
Yeah.
So we're ready to go again. So the update, we have some information on the Oxu bargain on our first meeting camera and the second staff do as directed. Move on to the confirmation bylaw, Steve moving, seconded by Jeannie. The bylaw number 2025-1949 being the bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on January 2025. Be read first, second, third time short, pass and signed by the reading clerk. All in favor? And adjournment. Bill and Ron, are you in favor? 8:24.